Hi, you're listening to The Island of a Lost Pilot by Rajesh Bhatia, narrated by Deepak Agnihotri. Chapter 18 Experiences at Sea. A movement caught his eye and he could see some triangular object floating about 100 meters away. What could be that? He thought. Oh my God, it is the tail of a shark. He had seen a shark only in movies or in television. With the size of the tail, it looked immense. What would he do without a weapon? He slowly looked around, not to arouse the attention of the giant carnivore, to find, by some stroke of good luck, Chang, who was somewhere nearby. Nothing but the vast sea. He wished Chang was near him, not because he was now friendly with him, but because he carried a gun. He should have brought something from the plane. Some wrench or some rod-like object to protect him from these creatures. But he had to take some action. His senses were dumb. His heart pounded 150 strokes a minute. The shark was approaching slowly towards him, and the distance was about 70 meters now. He could not see his body and eyes. He was not sure of its size, and whether it had seen him or not was the question. He thought of the parachute, slowly opened it and covered his head and body completely, keeping a slight opening around his eyes as to keep an eye on the approaching monster. He waited and waited. The creature was not in his line of vision. It was somewhere at the side, or perhaps behind him, with his mouth opened wide, ready to gulp him. He waited for perhaps 3 minutes, which were equal to 3 hours, and then, all of a sudden, from nowhere, the face of the bluish-grey creature appeared in front of him. Its mouth was open, exposing the 3.5 inches long teeth, which were able to tear him like butter. Its numerous pointed teeth and the 7 gill slits, the identification mark of a shark, ensured Rohan that it was a shark indeed. Its open mouth was so big that it was able to gulp a person thrice the size of Rohan without even chewing him. Rohan held his breath, but his heart was beyond his control. It was racing, and the sound was registering in his mind like hammering. He was sure that the shark must have heard his heartbeat, and now will not leave him. He automatically started a prayer in his mind. "Oh God, please forgive my sins and accept me in your world. I am coming to you through this creature. It was my foolishness to attempt such unnecessary feat which has created pain for my family and friends. I became a tool to supply drugs which will destroy the life of thousands of young men. I have no right to live. I want to die." He smiled at himself. The great Rohan, with a great body, the hero among his friends, the only son of his parents, the eminent trainee pilot, was going to land into the belly of a shark amidst the sea at a place unknown to anyone. His body will never be found. No one will ever know that what had happened to him. Such a dirty death. He deserved it, he thought. He closed his eyes and started reciting the Gayatri mantra. His heartbeat calmed down and he felt relieved, ready for his death. You always fear for death, but when death is so near, ultimately you feel relieved, and all the fear is gone. He opened his eyes slightly and slowly and found the shark staring at him with his larger-than golf ball-size eyes. He even felt eye contact with the creature, which again set him shivering. Suddenly, due to some unheard signal, the shark turned back abruptly and moved away. In this attempt, it hit him so hard with its tail that he turned upside down, with his head submerged inside the water and feet up in the air. Inside the water, he had the glimpse of the creature going away, and he could also see not less than 6 similarly large sharks moving around him. The seawater caused irritation in his eyes and was also choking him. He tried to correct his position, but with all the burden he carried, it was very difficult. He felt like an upside-down cockroach who moves his legs all the day, still is not able to correct its position, and ultimately dies that way. With great struggle, he corrected his position. Panting, out of breath, he opened his mouth so as to have more and more of fresh air by coughing and spilling out sea water. He could see the sharks moving away. They were not interested in him. He was like an unknown dish for him. Or perhaps they had taken him to be lump of nylon clothing because of the parachute, unpalatable and unhygienic. The sharks went away and the excitement was over. The heat of sun and hunger again started bothering him. He was thirsty also. The struggle for his life started again. He again tried to look for land. But in this vast sea, the finding of land was like winning the first prize of a lottery out of 1,000,000 contestants. However, he didn't forget to thank God for saving his life. Suddenly, his dangling and numb feet touched something hard beneath them. He panicked. Was some creature below his feet? He moved his feet and, to his surprise, found something like land there. He tried to stand on it. Yes, he could stand easily at this place. After about 1 day, he had stood on some land, although submerged. The waves were moving his body. He looked at the waves. The moving water was making him feel giddy. He closed his eyes and moved slowly. He was up by about 1 foot, and after that, again the water was deep. He was standing on the top of some submerged hill. He tried to sit and feel the land. Sea water was up to his chest. He held the float in one hand, sat inside the water, and touched the land near his feet. The land was not smooth and was very rough. It had pits and protrusions. He tried to grab something. It broke and came into his fist. He lifted himself up and looked at the object, which was brightly colored and shiny. Recognition came to his mind, and he realized that he was standing on one coral reef. This portion of the South China Sea was infested with coral reefs. With the sea so shallow, it was difficult for the vessels to navigate there. This was the reason that why there was no sea traffic around. He expected to find some coral reef above the sea large enough to give shelter to him. He thought of his childhood days. One of his uncles lived near Kalanor, a village near Rohtak, Haryana. He was about 10 years old and had visited his uncle in the month of June in summer vacations. He had found a fat frog sitting in a corner of a junkyard of his uncle's huge and old house. He had found a heavy wooden box and immediately inverted it over the frog, thus capturing it underneath. Biology was one of his subjects, and he wanted to take the frog to his home in Delhi. He wanted to pet this animal and study its habits. Suddenly, his mother called him for lunch, and he had to join them. The next day, they left for Delhi, and he forgot about the frog completely. They went again to Kalanor in the winter holidays in the month of December, after more than 6 months. As soon as he entered his uncle's home, the thought of the captured frog came to him. He immediately reached the junkyard and found the wooden box at the same place he had left. Nobody usually went there, and so the box was at the same place for 6 months. He uncovered the box, and to his sadness, he found a shrunken, dried, and dead form of the creature instead of a fat and alive frog. He could not help but cry at this sight. He never intended to kill the frog, but because of his foolishness and negligence, he had taken the life of an innocent creature. The creature had died without food in a captured state. He dug a small grave and buried the remains. The thought of the creature haunted him for many days. He could feel its round eyes staring at him as if to ask what his fault was. His condition worsened, and he caught fever. His mother nursed him and had asked the reason for his sadness. With great difficulty, he was able to narrate about the incident. His mother had also felt sorry for the small animal. As per the instructions of his mother, he had pledged not to torture any animal in future, and he had followed this as a principle till date. They had a dog named Tubby, and he loved that dog from the bottom of his heart. He had taken many injured street dogs and puppies to veterinary hospitals for their treatment. He had scolded many naughty boys who used to tease street animals. Once he found a very small puppy which was perhaps a few days old and was yelling for its mother, crawling to find her, shivering with the bitter cold of Delhi and crying with hunger. He had waited there for about half an hour for its mother to come and take its custody. But as she didn't show, he had not left the puppy there to die and brought it to his home. For a complete week, he had fed the puppy by using chunks of cotton wool dipped in milk till it became able to suck milk from a feeding bottle. He had planned to leave the pup when it became strong and independent, but could not muster courage to do so, as he now loved the little one and was afraid that it will not be able to live unprotected in the outside world. This was their naughty Tubby, now 2 years old, living like a family member. He loved cows and all lovable animals of the nature. That incident had changed his way of life also. He had become more or less of a vegetarian now. Now after 11-12 years, he was in the court of God for the punishment of his old sin. He had killed the frog in a confined space away from water and food. Now, God was also going to end his life. He was in a peculiar situation. Though surrounded with water, but undrinkable. Abundance of food in the form of fish, but unavailable. Not in a confined place, but unable to reach anywhere. A frog or a human being, both are equal in the eyes of God. He had been responsible for a life, and he will also have to give his own life for that as a punishment. He prayed, "O God, I can very well see your point. I am a sinner, and I need to be punished. But my dear God, don't you see that I was a kid at that time, and I never intended to kill that poor creature. I had mourned a lot over my sin. But after that, I have loved and cared every creature I have come across. Oh God, whatever you intend to do with me, I am there in your hands. I bow my head and will wait happily for my last time." He had nothing to do except to remember his family and friends and pray to God. Gradually, the sun reached far at the end of the horizon, reddish in color, ready to disappear. After some time, darkness will be everywhere, except the light of the moon and the stars. He thought of the world when no one lived, but the sun was there on its never-lasting journey. The sun had resumed its journey for the last millions of years. Similarly, the earth and other heavenly objects were always here. He felt himself a lonely creature of that time, fallen in sea from some other world. The sun and the earth were doing their chores, but unluckily he was trapped here. Had he been on some land, the situation would have been different. He was not a sea creature. He required food and drinking water. He was longing for some rest. He wanted to lie down on a comfortable bed and sleep. But in this sea, he was very uncomfortable in this suspended position. The sea water was damaging his submerged body, and the sun was burning him during daytime. 23rd March 2008, Sunday, 1:10 a.m., India. Shekhar took the window seat in Cathay Pacific flight number CX294, which started from New Delhi at 1:10 p.m. He had kept his both bags in the overhead baggage compartment. When the plane was airborne, he stood up and looked around. He was amazed to find that nearly 30 to 35 seats were unoccupied. He inquired the air hostess about these vacant seats. "Are these seats vacant due to cancellation?" "Not much cancellation, sir. Usually some seats are always vacant at this time of the year. One reason could be 2 more flights prior to this flight. One is Air India flight at 11:15 p.m. and the other is one Jet Airways flight at 12:35 p.m. The other reason could be the off-season of tourism and also the students who will be going to Australia for their further studies are not yet free from their studies here in India. Shekhar thanked her and said to himself, "So, the travel agent Malhotra was as much of a liar as he looked. He was pretending over the computer. He was so greedy that he had charged him double the money. Perhaps the phone call with Saxena was also a trick, and he has cheated him there also. Why there is no humanity in some people? The pain for his son meant nothing to Malhotra. He only knew how to milk money out of a desperate father." Shekhar shrugged the thought and, in order to please himself, thought about Rohan. "Anything for you, my son. But where are you now? Are you all right? May God take care of you." Shekhar looked out of the airplane window, far in the sky full of stars. The thought of Rohan struggling with sea water in the darkness troubled him. He closed his eyes as tears started rolling on his cheeks. He wanted to cry to his heart's content, but somehow controlled himself. He took out his handkerchief and wiped his face. He wanted the time to fly past so that he could reach Rohan and bring him back to Surekha and Ritu. "I will not allow him to go back again for this risky training," he promised to himself. Rohan felt as if he had slept for some time. The moon was shining and he could see numerous stars also. Far in the sky, dark clouds were scattered. He looked around and found the same dark sea and sea waves. No land was visible. He was so helpless that he wanted to cry. He started shouting due to his desperation. "Can anybody hear me? Help! Help! Somebody help me! I'm here!" But no one replied. No one would have heard him. He shouted and shouted. He started crying loudly as he thought about his desperate situation. "Will I ever reach the shore? Will I see my family members again? What they will be thinking about me? Were they worried? What about the friends and the frontline people? Were they taking some measures to save him? Perhaps not, because they were responsible for this situation. They will simply say that it was only his fault. He had gone to Subic Bay and had wandered to sea. He was not supposed to go there, and he was also responsible for the loss of the aircraft. He was surely going to die here in this sea, away from his country, with utmost pain, starved and sunburnt. He wished he had a gun or a weapon. If the pain persisted too long, he would finish his life with the weapon. He remembered Chang and, in his thoughts, found him in a more comfortable state. He had the satellite phone and had informed his brother, who was certainly going to save him. And he had a gun also. If nothing happened, he could kill himself with the gun. The thought of killing himself was overpowering his mind. Yes, he will wait for some time, and if he could reach nowhere, he will kill himself. He searched himself and found nothing on him that could kill him peacefully. He wished he had a cyanide capsule. He fixed himself a deadline till tomorrow, and after that he will not suffer any more and will end his life by drowning in the sea. He will throw away the life jacket and the float and let himself bury under the sea. Suddenly, his eyes caught the glimpse of some large animal coming towards him, moving up and down in the waves. As it was moonlight, he could not clearly see it. It appeared to be a large fish or a large sea animal, an alligator perhaps. It was like a black oblong shadow. The oblong creature was moving with the waves. It didn't see him and was about to pass him at about 50 yards distance when he shouted to attract its attention. "Hey, hey, come on, look at me. Come on, eat me and set me free from this struggle. Come on, come on." The creature didn't hear him. It moved on gracefully away from him. A thought came to his mind. This large creature could surely eat him. Perhaps it was not hungry or has not felt his presence and was going away. I will go towards it and invite him to eat me. If it is not hungry, I will provoke it to kill me, he said to himself. This was the weapon available at sea. With clear determination, he quickly moved towards the creature which was moving away. Shouting and calling its attention, he reached near it. It was floating lazily and appeared to be an alligator. Are there alligators in the sea also? Perhaps some species lived in the sea, he muttered. If the creature didn't kill him, but left him badly wounded, the situation will be extremely bad and painful. The salty sea water will have a tearing effect on his wounds. Ultimately, he may catch infection and die. With quick strides, he moved towards the alligator and grabbed it. He had no intention to struggle or fight with it. The alligator appeared to be very large and powerful, and water was its home. He waited for its attack. To his surprise, he didn't find any alligator or crocodile, but the floating object was some large wooden plank. It was about 15 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 2.5 inches thick. In this insufficient light, it appeared to be of blackish color. It might have come from a shipwreck happened many years back. The wood was swollen, brittle, and weak due to the soaking of sea water, and also due to constant exposure to all type of weathers. The end was worn and tapered and gave the impression of the snout of a crocodile. He laughed aloud at himself, at his stupidity. He tried his weight on the plank and rode on it. It was able to take its weight and still floating. He lied down on his back on the plank, closed his eyes and relaxed. He kept the parachute under his head to use as a pillow and tried to sleep. Perhaps sleep could relax his nerves. If he could have a little food and water, he will be able to float on this plank for a few days and reach some island. He decided to struggle to his full strength for his life. He again thought about his family, Shreya, and now he smiled. I will certainly go back for them. I have to unmask these drug racketeers. I have to tell the whole world about my innocence. Otherwise, all will think worst about me. I have to clear myself of this stigma. Yes, I can do it and will do it. A few minutes before, he was willing to die, fighting with the crocodile, and now he was again willing to fight for his life. Human nature is unpredictable. 23rd March 2008, Sunday, 6:30 a.m. Rohan was lying on his back when he opened his eyes. His whole body ached. He felt very weak and didn't wish to move. He was on the plank which was submerged a few inches under the water because of his weight. He had slept perhaps for a few hours. This plank must have carried him a few miles in the night. If he lived, he was not going to forget this journey. He thought of the travel in the Mumbai Rajdhani Express train. His aunt, one of the sisters of his father, lived in Mumbai, and they often used to visit her. He always chose the upper berth for sleeping. They slept in the night after dinner, and in the morning the train dropped them at Mumbai. Here, the comfortable berth was the plank, 3 inches below water, with no food, no water, no air conditioning, and above all, no destination. This journey was continuous. This plank was going to take him somewhere. If he was going to live and reach his country, he was sure to become a celebrity. The man who survived an air crash and the hazards of the open sea would be the newspaper headlines. He smiled at himself. If he lived, was the burning question. Time passed on. He was lying like a patient. He had kept the parachute under his head like a pillow and had covered his face and head with a part of it to prevent from the sun. The heat of the sun was unbearable. The machinery of his digestive system was churning and burning his body fat and muscles. He had stopped moving. Movements will demand energy. Energy comes from food, and food was not available. God, can I get something to eat in this open sea? He said in a weak voice. Suddenly a large wave threw something between his legs. He raised his head slightly, and to his surprise, he found a large fish, about 1 foot long, wriggling there. There was a little pool of water between his legs, but the fish was too large for that water and was feeling choked. Has God sent this as food? But how could he eat it? He had left non-vegetarian food years back. He won't be able to eat this raw fish. But for his life, he can try it, he thought. He groped and easily caught the fish. He felt that it was panting for its breath. If he held it like that, it will die within minutes, and then he could try to eat it slowly. It will be difficult, but not that difficult, as he was a non-vegetarian a few years back. His thought wandered to a Discovery Channel serial in which the hero used to eat a variety of animals like insects, worms, reptiles, frogs, snakes, etc. in order to stay alive at some strange place. If he wanted some energy to live, he will have to do it. He thought of the punishment God had already given to him for killing the frog innocently during his childhood days. But here, when he was not innocent, had grown up and had his punishment too, how can he kill the fish? The fish twitched faintly as if to remind him that it was still alive. He thought for a last moment and threw the fish back in the sea. He felt relieved. Perhaps God was going to have a test on him, and if he killed the fish to eat it, he would have been punished even harder. Time passed on. He was a person who exercised every day for hours and was habitual of a very good diet. Without any food, he was feeling extremely weak. He looked sideways and was glad to find the mast of a ship which was coming that way. He carefully sat on the plank and looked in that direction. Nothing was there. Was he dreaming? He rubbed his eyes and looked again. Yes, the ship was there, but it was in a different direction. His eyes were watery and wet. He wiped the eyes with the back of his hand and looked again towards the ship. To his surprise, the ship was not there again. He was certainly dreaming. Was the ship a hallucination? Was it a ghost ship like that of Mr. Jack Sparrow? He shivered at his thought. Or was he going mad? Yes, he was going mad indeed. He was imagining things which were not there. Pain again arose in his stomach. His throat was also dry. He had not drunk water since yesterday afternoon, when it had rained. Food was there, he thought, but he had thrown it. He will eat it the next time. Killing a frog like that was not good, but killing and eating a fish out of this abundant stock of the sea, that too for his life, was not a sin. His thought wandered to a similar Discovery serial when a person killed his own pet dog and ate it in order to survive, when he was lost in a jungle. Rohan now waited for any fish to come so that he could eat it, but this chance never came again. He was right. God had given him one chance to have some food, but he had lost that chance. He extended his hand to grab some fish from the sea. Nothing but sea water came into his hand. He was not a polar bear who could easily catch moving fish in flowing streams in their snouts. The fact was that he had been sent some food and he had lost that single chance. Such chances were 1 in a million. He was unable to interpret God's intention.